everyone, welcome to our channel where we help your real estate investments work harder for you. I'm Samantha from Elevate Realty in Toronto. If you want to invest in real estate but you don't know where to invest, listen up. In this video, I'm going to give you my top 6 reasons why you should invest in Toronto real estate right now. Our team lives in Toronto, invests in Toronto, and we simply love Toronto. Even during these unprecedented times, I'm going to show you why Toronto is still a great investment. So let's get started. The first reason is that Toronto has strong long-term market appreciation. Appreciation is about supply and demand, and in Toronto, both of these favor the investor. Some cities in North America have a lot of unused land, but in Toronto, we're out of space. When there is land that can be used for redevelopment, it's usually used for condos so more people can live there. The bottom line is that all housing is limited in Toronto, and houses with land are especially valuable. On the demand side, we're the second fastest growing urban center in North America and Canada's tech hub. So this drives a constant stream of people moving into our city because of our job opportunities. When you combine limited supply with growing demand, this makes residential real estate in Toronto appreciate a lot quicker than other cities. Here's a chart that shows normalized house prices between different cities in Toronto. As you can see, Toronto beats all of the other Canadian cities, and we're sitting at around 8% annual market appreciation over the past 10 years. Reason number 2 is that Toronto's real estate prices have lower price fluctuations. Let me illustrate what causes higher price fluctuations first. Calgary is Canada's energy hub, so when oil prices boomed, Calgary's prices shot up in value. But because Calgary is mainly a single industry city, their property shot back down in 2014 when oil prices dropped and people lost their jobs and moved out. Another key driver for volatile real estate prices come from people speculating the market. This happens when people buy into a city based on unrealized development plans, betting on amazing things to happen once the area is transformed and attract more people. If these plans don't pan out as expected, these investors would leave because they aren't making what they expect and prices drop. The good thing about Toronto is that we are none of the above. We have a diverse and established economy, and housing is backed by real demand. Here's the thing, with many condo projects in the works, Toronto still isn't approving housing fast enough, and our city is currently underdeveloped by 26,000 homes. This need for housing and real demand is what drives property prices, which means more stable prices and a lower risk investment compared to other cities. With the current COVID-19 situation, property prices are dropping across the board, even though the fundamentals in Toronto remain unchanged. This drop in price is a great chance to enter the Toronto real estate market at a discount, since you'll benefit from higher appreciation once the situation improves. If you want to learn more about what's been happening in Toronto and what our projections are for the rest of 2020, check out our review and outlook report. You can get a link to the report in the description below. The third reason to invest in Toronto real estate is our steady and growing rents. As a real estate investor, one big risk is that you might not get rent. This can happen if a tenant doesn't pay on time, doesn't pay at all, or there are periods of vacancies in between tenants. People living in Toronto tend to be employed and they tend to make a steady income, so they're more likely to pay rent on time. You also don't have to worry as much about vacancies in Toronto because of the high demand for housing. When an existing tenant gives you their 2 months notice, it's more than likely that you can find another tenant to move in during that period of time. On top of steady rents, we're actually seeing high rent growth in Toronto. This high growth is because our population is growing and more people are renting because they simply can't afford to buy. At the beginning of this year, Toronto's rent growth was projected to be the highest amongst all Canadian cities. Obviously, the actual numbers need to be adjusted down due to COVID-19, but it still gives you a good idea of Toronto's rent growth potential compared to other cities. Reason 4 is the higher chance of gentrification in Toronto. Toronto is a big deal in Canada, and it attracts a lot of attention from both the public and private sectors. For example, Toronto has the highest crane count in North America, and there's also a lot of public transit projects in the works. Because of this higher number of development projects, Toronto's property prices are actually more likely to benefit from gentrification, which can give you an extra boost in your property's value. If you want to learn more about gentrification, you need to check out another video I made that dives into this. I'll put a link in the description below so you can head there afterwards. Reason 5 5 is because Toronto has a higher number of forced appreciation opportunities. Unlike other cities with newer homes, Toronto has many century-old homes that need a lot of work. So if you're able to renovate these homes, you can unlock a lot of value. If you want to learn more about this, you've got to check out my other video where I focus on value add work. I'll put a link in the description below as well. The last reason why you should invest in Toronto is because of the option to increase cash flows by increasing rentable space. Now, not every city allows secondary suites, and even if it does, not every city needs it because there's enough housing supply. But because we have a housing crisis in Toronto, Toronto allows multiple units and investors can actually benefit from adding more units in. Right now, it's easy to go one step up in Toronto. What this means is if you own a single family home, you can get permits and convert it into a duplex. If you own a duplex, you can convert it into a triplex. On top of this, Toronto has recently released a laneway suites program. This means you can create even more living space on your property when you build a laneway house. Ultimately, more rentable space means more rents and better cash flows for you. I hope you learned more about Toronto real estate and why we choose to invest in our own city. If you compare Toronto to world-class cities like London, New York, or Hong Kong, Toronto's property prices are actually much lower, plus you can get better cash flows here. On the other hand, even though smaller cities can get you better cash flows than Toronto, you probably won't be able to get much appreciation from them. So Toronto actually outperforms many cities in terms of total returns since we have a good balance of cash flows and appreciation. Stay tuned for our next video where I'll go over the differences between investing in stocks and investing in real estate. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. Also, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do so that you can see weekly real estate investing videos just like this one. Finally, if you need help with real estate investing in Toronto, our team at Elevate is happy to help. I wish you all the best in your real estate investing journey. Thanks so much for watching and see you in the next video.